Okay, this is going to be incriminating. Here we go. 7/10/20 reported by the AP. Columbus, Ohio, a medical researcher and professor who had been working most recently at Ohio State University is facing federal charges in what prosecutors say was a sophisticated scheme to transfer U.S.-backed research to China. Song Go Zheng, Songguozheng, 57, of suburban Hillard, and his research groups secured more than $4.3 million in grants from the National Institutes of Health for projects while receiving overlapping funding from the National Natural Science Foundation of China, according to a criminal complaint unsealed Thursday in Columbus. Zheng worked in the Division of Rheumatology and Immunology at OSU's Wexner Medical Center. There's this guy again, Wexner. Yeah, he's tied to Epstein and Jizzy. Here we go. When he was hired last year, the university described him as a nationally and internally renowned researcher, known as an enthusiastic pioneer in his field. Prosecutors now say Zheng was involved in a sophisticated medical grant fraud scheme involving the transfer of research paid for with U.S. grant funds to China. He faces one felony count of fraud or bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds, which carries a penalty of up to 10 years in prison, and one count of making false statements when not disclosing his foreign affiliations to authorities, which carries up to 5 years. That seems kind of light for a traitor. Magistrate Judge Elizabeth Preston Devers ordered Zheng held without bond because he is a flight risk. The case will be presented to a federal grand jury for possible indictment. Federal agents say he was attempting to board a private flight headed to China. He initially told investigators he was going home, later changing his story to say he was planning a visit to see his sick father. Documents say he had 3 large bags packed for a long, if not permanent, journey, including one bag stuffed with 2 laptop computers and several USB drives. We allege that Zheng was preparing to flee the country after he learned that his employer had begun an administrative process into whether or not he was complying with rules governing taxpayer-funded grants. U.S. Attorney David M. DeVillers said in a statement. An affidavit filed with the complaint alleges that Zheng had been participating since 2013 in a Chinese talent plan, a program established by the Chinese government to recruit those with knowledge or access to foreign technology and intellectual property. So we're going to be able to link this to other individuals as well in universities responsible for cancel culture and teaching some of these more naive, supposedly intelligent kids. There we go. Before moving to Ohio, Zheng worked at the University of Southern California and Pennsylvania State University. Oh, here we go. Zheng is currently on unpaid leave, and the university has begun the process of terminating him. Well, he needs to be arrested and thrown in prison for treason. How is this not happening? The other individuals protecting him? But let's see, because we definitely have more stories involving a few more individuals and actual Chinese army members in our universities. So we'll have to continue on that story too. Okay, we're on to the second article now. And this one is insane. Wall Street Journal, apparently, by Kate O'Keefe and Aruna Viswanatha, February 23rd, 2020. Title: Chinese military turns to U.S. university to conduct covert research. When a researcher from a Chinese military academy applied to study with celebrated Boston University physicist Eugene Stanley, He said her affiliation didn't raise red flags. Okay, Eugene, why not? I'm not interested at all in politics. I'm a scientist, said Mr. Stanley, whose wide-ranging research has included using artificial intelligence to decode financial markets and applying statistical physics to prevent diseases. So he's using AI to rig markets, or at least prediction of markets. The recent indictment of the researcher, who is accused of lying on her U.S. visa application to conceal she is a lieutenant in the Chinese military, shows how U.S. universities' openness to international collaboration and cutting-edge research leaves them vulnerable to potential exploitation. Mr. Stanley said that he receives droves of research requests and that he vets candidates' scientific credentials. Okay, sounds like he's already contradicted himself. A Boston University spokesman said the school doesn't engage in classified research and relies on the State Department to screen foreign applicants for national security risks. Well, then, looks like the State Department dropped the ball on this. So, let me see. Oh, wait, who was in charge of the State Department when this individual was let into the university under these programs? So let's think. Who was in charge of the State Department? Oh, boy. A range of U.S. agencies, from the Defense Department to the National Institutes of Health, have sounded alarms over Beijing's alleged attempts to tap U.S. university expertise to boost China's military and technological competitiveness. It goes on to say U.S. officials accuse China of targeting academia, including by sending military researchers to American labs and using talent recruitment programs to attract to China top flight scientists, entrepreneurs, and experts, as well as their intellectual property. Oh, not sketchy at all. Beijing has denied any systematic effort to steal U.S. scientific research. Oh, well, yeah, just like they don't do anything illegal in the way of human rights violations, huh? I mean, if they're going to lie about that, of course they would lie about anything else. And Chinese state media have called U.S. allegations of intellectual property theft a political tool. Well, I'm sure they have. China's the tool. Federal prosecutors in Boston brought the most high-profile China recruitment case to date last month when they charged the chair of Harvard University's chemistry department with deliberately lying about receiving millions of dollars in funding through Beijing's 1,000 Talents Plan. 1,000 Talents Plan, huh? I hope that's not related in any way to 1,000 Currents Plan. According to the complaint, Professor Charles Lieber, L-I-E-B-R, who hasn't entered a plea, signed a 5-year agreement to conduct research on a battery technology to power electric vehicles, a field China wants to dominate. Okay, so here's Mr. Crooked himself, Charles Lieber, huh? So he's in bed with China to steal technological secrets from the U.S. A review by officials with the Texas A&M University system found that more than 100 faculty at its schools were involved with Chinese talent recruitment programs, though only 5 had disclosed their participation. Okay, Texas A&M, looks like you've got a problem. So this is Harvard, the chemistry department, Texas A&M University system. Some university leaders have dismissed U.S. officials' national security concerns as exaggerated and discriminatory, and said there should be no restrictions on unclassified research that is meant to be published. No, but what about intellectual property rights? They have also said that international collaboration, particularly with China, given its trove of science and engineering talent, is essential to advancing scientific discovery. Well, sure, that'd all be fine and dandy if maybe they would admit to their theft and stop stealing stuff and committing humanitarian violations left and right like haven't been seen in 70 years. And how long have they been doing it? And just lying. Yeah, they seriously need to change before they should be allowed to participate in a collaboration involving advancing scientific technology. They don't even know what a human rights violation is, apparently. So to continue, despite commitment to open exchanges, universities should consider drawing the line at working with China's People's Liberation Army. Oh, gee, you think? Why would they do that anyway? Suggests a 2018 report by the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, an Australian government-backed nonpartisan think tank. So why doesn't our journalism and Department of Justice handle this? Why do we have to be told this from an Australian government-backed think tank? Okay, helping a rival military develop its expertise and technology isn't in the national interest, says the report by researcher Alex Joske, Joske. He found China's military sponsored more than 2,500 scientists and engineers to study abroad over the prior decade. That's a lot. At times without their host school's knowledge of their military affiliations. How many? Where's this list? It's a report by researcher Alex Joske. To continue, in the Boston University case, federal prosecutors accused Wanqing, I don't know, Yanqingye, of acting as an agent of a foreign government on her application for a J-1 visa used for scholarly exchanges. She said she was a student at China's National University of Defense Technology, but omitted that she was a lieutenant in the PLA. Oh, gee. Yeah, you think that would have raised any flags? According to the indictment, it said she carried out assignments from military colleagues while at Boston University. So here we go. Harvard Chemistry, Boston University, Texas A&M. But this is Boston University from 2017 to 2019. A search of Miss Yee's electronic devices at Boston Logan Airport last April revealed messages instructing her to research a computer security professor at the U.S. Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. Sure, teacher, I will start work on it immediately, she replied, according to the indictment. Okay, so this is different than the Ohio guy. This is another one, and she's being told. So our government's indicted her. She has a message from her China handlers that says to start spying on a certain professor at a Navy postgraduate school. Okay. Continue. Mrs. Yee didn't respond to email requests for comment, nor did her university. Oh, gee, why would Boston University want to respond to that? Gee, I don't know. Maybe they need to answer for that. And we need to know who else knew her and talked with her and had close ties. Come on, FBI, you're dropping the ball. Okay, continue on. Miss Yee didn't respond to email requests for comment, nor did her university, which is one of the Chinese military's leading research institutes. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, which recently issued a wanted poster for her, said she is likely back in China. Mr. Stanley 78, Eugene, is a renowned expert in statistical physics, having received numerous honors and fellowship. His lab has attracted more than 200 research associates and visiting scientists, including around 75 that appear to be from China. Okay, Eugene Stanley, surely he's under investigation. If a person anywhere in the world wants to come to my group and they have the money to come, I say, why not? He said in an interview with the Wall Street Journal. Oh, so Eugene Stanley said, if any person anywhere in the world wants to come to my group and they have the money to come in, I say why not. So basically you're saying pay to play. Starting to sound like another family I know. To continue, the Boston University spokesman said Mr. Stanley has been on leave since March 2019, a move unrelated to the visiting scholar issue, and will retire at the end of 2020. How convenient. You think this just sweeps under the rug like that, huh? Nobody wants to know who else he was connected with and who the other 75 individuals are. We know of one. He said that while the professor has brought collaborations from all over the world, the university applies the same criteria in reviewing visiting scholars, assessing their funding and academic credentials, among other factors. What other factors? Do you care about their military associations? Continuing on, in the fiscal year that ended on June 30th, 2019, Boston University hosted 1,294 international scholars from 96 countries, with China as the top source. School data shows, over the past year, the spokesman said, school administrators have educated faculty about U.S. government concerns of foreign influence, and a policy review committee has also made recommendations which are being implemented. Okay, so who are the people on this committee, and what are they implementing to prevent Chinese spies in our schools? The spokesman said the school counts on the U.S. State Department to get visa requests against organizations or individuals that are of concern to the U.S. government. So the State Department, here we go again, the State Department dropping the ball. The State Department spokesman declined to discuss specific cases, but said that the Immigration and Nationality Act gives limited authority to deny visas. Oh, gee, I wonder, let's see. Can we look into who was behind the Immigration and Nationality Act that would limit authority to deny visas? How would that help trafficking in any way or link back to Jizzy? So yeah, let's go down that road. To continue on, currently, the spokesman said, consular officers may deny a visa on national security grounds if they believe the applicant might intend to export a technology on a U.S. government control list. What list? Many technologies and basic research, like that done in Mr. Eugene Stanley's lab, aren't on export control lists. Well, there's a link to it here, so maybe we should check that out too. Continuing on, Mr. Stanley said he is totally overwhelmed by the allegations against Miss Yi. What, he doesn't understand? Yeah, he's so in on it. Here we go again. I know nothing. I'll be like Prince Andrew hiding the bottom of my castle. He said he doesn't remember Miss Yi well, but found in his files a 2016 paper about machine learning that he had co-written with her and others before her stint in his lab in Boston. So, one of the co-authors was Miss Yi's university colleague, Kai-Wei Yang, a PLA colonel. So, okay, so here's another one that we haven't heard about now. There's two of them, apparently out of Boston, associated with Mr. Eugene Stanley. K-E-W-E-I, last name Yang, Y-A-N-G, PLA colonel. And then we have Yi, Y-E, who was also the PLA. Both of these were at Boston University with Eugene Stanley. Okay, continuing on. Machine learning, a field of AI, teaches computers to think like humans and has a range of civilian and military applications. Colonel Yang, identifiable as co-conspirator A in the indictment, is accused of directing Miss Yi while she was in Boston. He didn't respond to requests for comment on the paper he co-wrote with Miss Yi and Mr. Stanley. Both list their affiliations as National University of Defense Technology. And of course, they would probably both be in China and unavailable for comment. In 2015, the U.S. put the university on an export blacklist after finding it used U.S. semiconductors to build supercomputers. which, in addition to civilian tasks, are used in the development of nuclear weapons, encryption, missile defense, and other systems. So that's what they were there for. That's what Boston University has been into. They're into Texas A&M and Harvard Chemistry Lab, too. In 2018, superseding indictment, Massachusetts prosecutors alleged the university was a top customer of a defendant accused of illegally exporting U.S. marine technology. Okay. In 2018, superseding indictment, Massachusetts prosecutors alleged the university was a top customer of a defendant accused of illegally exporting U.S. marine technology. You just have to think about that. Repeat that a few times because that is huge. Is it a bad place? I don't know, said Mr. Stanley, when asked if he had concerns about working with scholars from that school. And that's the end of the article. But yeah, there's a lot of information in there that is extremely valuable.